Bueno, damas y caballeros, con este tema terminamos la hora de nuestro programa musical de Domingos Felices y comenzamos con nuestra programación de política para todos ustedes, damas y caballeros. ¿Ok? Ya tenemos a nuestro flamante invitado, el señor Don Tracy. Vamos a correr su anuncio, por favor, ingeniero. I'm going to run your ad so the people would see. Dealing with. This is Mr. Don Tracy, who is running for Senate for the United States. He's going to be hopefully taking the place of Dick Durbin.
That's right.
Who just retired.
Yes.
Okay.
After 44 years in the Congress and the Senate.
Okay. Can we run the commercial? You got it? Okay. Here we go.
Sky-high cost of living in Illinois has made the American dream seem out of reach for many everyday Illinoisans.
I've been a registered nurse for the last 2 years, and I feel like I've been living paycheck off paycheck. Groceries being expensive, gas being expensive, and on top of that, my bills to keep a roof over my head.
May I ask why you're still working at 71?
I can't retire. Things have gotten so tight money-wise. I got to pay the bills and I got to eat.
So you're third generation farmer.
Third generation.
Tell me about the inputs on farming. How those prices gone up.
Started with the shortage of all the stuff in 2020. Grain prices keep going down. And input prices keep coming up.
Illinois working families need someone who will work for them in Washington, not for special interest.
Politicians, the long term, they have a lot of special interest. I don't think they care about the little guys out here that made this country.
If you had a choice between someone running for office who is going to focus and prioritize reducing the cost of living or a career politician, which choice would you make?
The guy that's not a career politician. The longer you're a career politician, the less connected you are to the people you actually got elected to go serve.
Who's paying for your education?
Mostly in loans.
So you're working your way through college?
I work 2 jobs.
That's great. I worked my way through college.
I understand the struggles of working families. I started working in the warehouse of our family business when I was 10 years old. My wife is the daughter of a factory worker handyman. I will be the voice for everyday Illinoisans in Washington. I'm Don Tracy. I've spent my career working for families and small businesses. I'm ready to take that fight to the U.S. Senate. I will fight with everything I have. So everyone in our great state has the opportunity to pursue their own American dream.
So it is an honor for me to have Mr. Don Tracy here, who is a Republican, just like me, Mr. Tracy.
Yeah,
I'm a Republican as well. And you are hoping, and I'm hoping too, that you're going to fill up the seat that Dick Durbin, who is retiring.
That is the plan, sir, and I'm honored to be on your program, Frank.
Thank you so much. We're going to try to translate as much as we can to our people in Spanish. Acabamos de correr un anuncio, damas y caballeros, sobre el señor Tracy, que está aquí acompañándonos. Y vamos a tratar de traducir lo más posible de todo lo que se pueda en español para todos ustedes. Básicamente, él está corriendo para el asiento del Senado que está dejando el representante Dick Durbin. Se retira y él está representando al estado de Illinois por el Partido Republicano. Now, your opponent is...
First, I should say, buenos dias, senor.
Buenos dias. Very good. You brush up in your Spanish. You'll get it eventually.
My Spanish needs a lot of brushing up.
No problem. So you have... who is opposing you, Lieutenant?
That is my favorite question. I get that question all over the state. Who is actually running on the Democrat side for this U.S. Senate seat? And the answer is the Lieutenant Governor.
Lieutenant Governor, that's what I thought.
And then when I say that, a lot of people say, well, who is the Lieutenant Governor? and her name, if I say her name here, I might double her ID, actually, her name ID, because she has a little more name ID than I do. but because she's a statewide public official.
Right.
But and I am not. And she's a career politician, and I am not.
And you're not.
Although I have significant political experience, I've been very actively involved in politics the last 25 years as a volunteer, though, not as a career politician. But most people don't know her name.
Okay. You don't want to mention it. We don't have to.
She doesn't mention my name.
No, that's right. Then you don't have to mention hers.
I just call her the Lieutenant Governor.
Lieutenant Governor. That's good enough. That's good enough. Está corriendo contra la tenienta gobernadora en estos momentos de aquí de Illinois, pero no vamos a mencionar el nombre porque dicen que ella no le quiere dar suficiente fama. I have a few questions that are actually written by some of the people. I notify my question that some of the people had forward to me, and there's also a phone call already. They're waiting to talk to you all over the place. So this is the thing. Many Latinos in Illinois, they own small business, from landscaping to companies and restaurants and grocery store. And as a businessman yourself, how will you tax and have proposals to regulate on the Senate to make it easier for these independent entrepreneurs to grow and hire people?
First of all, I owned and operated my own small business for a number of years. And so I've signed the front of the paycheck, not just the back of the paycheck. And I know what it's like to make payroll in times when you really don't have the money to make payroll, when you have to borrow money to make payroll, because I had to do. Secondly, my dad started a business when I was 10 years old, and I was assigned to the warehouse, which was a 2-car garage at the time. It's much larger now. It's been very successful. I'm the oldest of 12 children. Wow. And my mom and dad have gone, but my 11 brothers and sisters, including the spouse, the widow of one of my deceased brothers, we own the business. It's all a family business. So I know what it's like to be in a family business, and I know how just how hard it can be to deal with all the regulations as a small business. And when you're unable to afford lots of lawyers and accountants and all that. So I think the other thing I want to note is that I'm not sure that my opponent knows, and my opponent, I will say her last name's Stratton because she's the lieutenant governor for Governor Pritzker. So it's the Pritzker-Stratton administration. I'm not sure they understand that most jobs in Illinois are created by small businesses. And that's why small businesses are so important to the Illinois economy. And right now Illinois is lagging, I think, all the other states in terms of job creation and in terms of population growth. We are leading the nation, I am told, in terms of people leaving the state. Those are not good metrics at all. And one of the best ways to turn that around is by creating more jobs. And the best way to do that is by helping small businesses create more jobs. And the best way to do that, I think, is to look at all the regulations and how they impact small businesses and cut some of the red tape. Because we have so many every time the legislature comes down to Springfield, where I live, no man's life, liberty, or property are safe, because you have some Chicago Democrat that experiences some issue, maybe 1 in a million issue, and they say, do something. You have to do something. So that means another regulation, maybe another tax. And we've got to stop doing that, but we also got to look at some of that stuff and what impact they have on small businesses. And a lot of these laws and regulations will have exemptions for small businesses. They might say that if you're a business over 10 employees, you have to do this and that, or maybe over 50, over 15. Well, maybe instead of exempting just businesses of 10 or fewer employees, maybe it should be 20 or fewer employees, maybe 25 or fewer employees, because you have to be a pretty big business to be able to pay for the lawyers and accountants you need to handle all of those, those very complex laws. So that's the first thing I would do, is look at trying to cut the red tape.
Básicamente, no es imposible traducir todo lo que dijo, pero it's impossible for me to translate everything. you just went on and on, but that's okay. Most of the people do speak English. Let me introduce you first. This is my friend Cesar Rodriguez, who is also my co-host here, and he was very popular in Colombia. He had his own TV show and radio show as well. In
Colombia, South America?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Not Colombia, Missouri.
No, Colombia, South America. He's Cuban, but he worked out of Colombia.
Very good. And what is your name?
My name is Cesar.
Cesar. Okay. Can you just translate that? I think the best thing we can do for small businesses to help grow the Illinois economy is to cut some of the red tape for small businesses.
Right. Considera que lo mejor para los negocios pequeños es eliminar todo ese papeleo y todo ese sistema que han creado para que los pequeños negocios no avancen, ya que él es dueño de un pequeño negocio y empezó, toda su familia son dueños de negocios. Él opina que para que los pequeños negocios puedan progresar aquí en el estado de Illinois, hay que eliminar mucho de todo ese papeleo, de todas las cosas que se le pone para evitar que un negocio...
Ahora, de esta situación que se está viviendo y en este gobierno, también un repunte de una recientemente al país que ni siquiera todavía es documentada, pero que no se habla mucho también de lo rápido que está creciendo económicamente, lo rápido que están comprando casas, lo rápido que están encontrando oportunidades laborales, y eso es una zona oscura de la cual no se habla mucho y habría que llamar la atención. Sí, por un lado hay un asunto migratorio, pero por el otro lado también estamos viendo de que todas estas oportunidades que están encontrando estos latinos que llegan a los Estados Unidos son increíblemente incomparables con lo que está pasando en otro mundo. Es decir, que sobre todo sobrevive en nuestro país esa misma concepto de sueño americano que se basa en la libertad de oportunidades. Y esa libertad se basa también en la velocidad en la que uno puede generar en menor cantidad de tiempo todos los sueños y concepto económico que uno tiene en su cabeza.
I'm so jealous of you, Cesar, and you, Frank, because you're bilingual. I wish I could speak Spanish. All I know is por favor, baño.
Well, we got my second co-host who just walked in, Mr. Amenero. He's walking in. He'll be here shortly. He's basically talking about the amount of Hispanics that have come here with the American dream. That they want to grow and they see this as the land of opportunity. And how do you feel about that? How do you feel
I think that's great. Especially if they're coming in illegally.
Right.
I think that's important. I'm opposed to open borders. I think you're not a nation unless you have real borders. And
I agree with you 100% on that as well.
And but I think it's great because families like that remind me of my own family.
All right.
My dad started our family business from, as we like to say, scratch.
Now you guys are playing musical chair. You're switching chair because he usually sits here.
Yeah.
But that's okay. Cesar, you could have stayed over there. No, there's no problem.
Why don't they shouldn't they have to arm wrestle for that seat over there?
No, it's because he usually sits there, so he says seniority has to be respected.
De este lado estamos los buenos.
The good guy on this side, he's saying. This is Mr. Robert Amenero.
Robert?
Robert, yeah. So this is Mr. Tracy.
Pleased to meet you.
So
Buenos dias, senor.
He's Cuban American. All three of us are Cuban. He's He's also been a small business owner and.
Actually, I'm a CIA, Cuban, Italian, American.
That's why he calls it CIA, Cuban.
Yeah,
Italian,
is that
American.
why you're wearing the Italian driver's cap?
Yeah, that's his signature.
My parents are Italian.
All right, wow. Yeah. So you're a legitimate Italian Cuban.
I'm Italian, Cuban.
American. He calls himself CIA.
American first.
Yes.
Okay, so.
But so my family is like the families you're talking about. I'm the oldest of 12. Catholic. We all grew up, went to Catholic schools, Catholic grade school, and we. My mom and dad were both farm kids, so they had to work from an early age. So all my brothers and sisters started out working, and my brother Pat was 9. He started in the warehouse when I started, and I was age 10. And that's the way I think, a lot of Latino families in family businesses do. They get the kids get involved. And I've been given a lot by my parents. First of all, the best blessing was my parents stayed together and they raised us as a mom and dad. So I had a mom and a dad. That's a big advantage, I think. And then we have they started what's become a very successful family business, and I'm still involved and still an owner. So are my kids and my grandkids. So that's a blessing. But the biggest blessing I got from my mom and dad was work ethic. Because whether I wanted to or not, and believe me, I really didn't want to work on Saturday mornings as a 10-year-old. I wanted to play baseball or watch cartoons. Sure. But they made me work. And I'm so grateful for that because it's given me the work ethic that keeps me going. I could have retired 20 years ago, and I'm running for U.S. Senate. It's not an easy thing to do. Right. But that work ethic is what keeps me going. So thanks, Mom and Dad.
Lo importante que él menciona es los valores de la familia y mantenerse unidos como una familia. Él es hijo, son 12 miembros de la familia de él y todos están trabajando en el mismo negocio, un negocio familiar. Dice que lo que más aprecia de su mamá y su papá es la ética, enseñarlos a ellos, a toda la familia, cómo trabajar y que era una cosa que se enfocaba en eso, que hay que trabajar. Y desde que era niño, a los 10 años, empezó a trabajar en el negocio de los padres, que él prefería estar en la casa mirando los muñequitos y jugando pelota, pero tenía que trabajar. So I basically translate for you.
Thank you. I'm sorry to put you to so much hard work.
As long as you guys don't talk like he went on forever and you will go on forever. I go, that's impossible.
I'm trying to cut my answers short.
You grew up in a farmer's state?
No, my mom and dad were both farm kids.
In Illinois?
I grew up in Illinois, near Quincy, downstate, western Illinois, in a town in Brown County, which has more deer than people.
Chicago's got more deer than people now too.
Oh, yeah, they're all over, aren't they? But in the town, the biggest city in the county was Mount Sterling, a town of 2,000 people. And most of my classmates were farm kids, so I was called a city kid in a city of 2,000, in a county of 5,000.
Wow. Nació en un pueblo pequeño aquí en Illinois y
de 2,000 personas.
Y se crió, bueno, el pueblo donde vivía dice que habían 2,000 personas, pero que lo consideraban a él un muchacho de la ciudad porque fue a la escuela en donde habían muchachos que vivían en las zonas rurales farmers. que eran básicamente eran todos tenían sus fincas y campesinos, exacto.
Yes, farmers, campesinos.
Farmers. So,
hablemos un poco del tema de la seguridad. Hay un ambiente noticioso con respecto a, sobre todo de las personas que viven fuera del estado, ¿no? Porque no lo veo así, ni lo creo así en lo personal, pero sí miran hacia Chicago y hacia Illinois como un lugar un poco donde no hay tanta seguridad como en otros lugares. Cuando digo seguridad, puede decir, por ejemplo, niveles de delincuencia en general. Ahora, ¿cómo se está trabajando o qué es lo que propone el candidato para trabajar no solamente con la realidad, sino con este espíritu que se ha generado con el resto del país de que de pronto nuestra ciudad, yo particularmente no lo veo, no lo creo así, pero sí sé que en otros lugares lo piensan, se siente como un lugar más inseguro desde el punto de vista de la delincuencia y del delito.
He's asking, how do you feel? What are your position in law and order? Because a lot of people feel like Chicago is, even though he doesn't feel himself like that, but that Chicago is not a safe city. And then there's so many problems with Illinois in total, with delinquency, gang-related stuff, and all the crime that goes on. What do you propose for that? What are your views on law and order?
Well, I support the law and order. I support the police. I think the Safety Act needs to be amended again. It's been amended several times. The goal of the initial purpose of the Safety Act was to level the playing field for rich and poor, because I think we all agree that if two people are charged with the same crime, one is rich and one is poor, you shouldn't let the rich guy out because he has money and keep the poor man in because he doesn't. So that was the purpose of the Safety Act, was to treat rich and poor alike. And if they had just done that, it would be okay, but they went beyond that, and they basically changed the law to make it too hard to keep career criminals, especially career violent criminals, in jail. They made it too hard on the judges and the prosecutors to keep violent career criminals in jail. And that's why it needs to be amended.
Él dice que debe de cambiarse las leyes, debe haber algunos cambios en las leyes, sobre todo como están hoy en día los criminales violentos, que al cambiar las reglas que se han cambiado, permiten que estos gente que cometen crímenes horribles salgan y no pasen suficiente tiempo en la prisión. Y lo que eso pasa, porque también yo tengo familiares que son policías, lo que hace eso es que el momento que vuelven a salir estos criminales, vuelven a cometer las mismas fechorías. Sí, son criminales de carrera. I'm trying to tell them that I have family in law enforcement as well, and it's exactly what you said. The minute these people go out, they go back to their ways and they commit even worse crimes.
Right, and it's just a few people that are committing most of the crime, so it would be a much safer city and community if we gave the judges more discretion to keep dangerous career criminals in jail.
Hay que darle más libertad o más discreción a los jueces para que mantengan este tipo, porque dice que estos crímenes se están cometiendo por una minoría de delincuentes, pero desgraciadamente esa minoría son las que están saliendo y están volviendo a cometer los crímenes. Entonces hay que darle más ¿cómo se dice? Más derechos o más libertad a los jueces para que puedan mantener a esta gente que cometen estos crímenes por más tiempo en la prisión y que no los suelten tan rápido. Que esto ayudaría mucho a combatir el crimen.
What is the logic of the Democrats trying to keep criminals? What is their logic? What's the logic?
I don't know that there's any logic behind it. They have the power now in Chicago that they have the. That's a very complex question because it's been accumulated over time. What I like to say is Democrats, Illinois Democrats and Chicago Democrats, they are very active in politics. They're very involved in politics because they and their special interest allies feed off the government. And they benefit from big government, and so they are politically involved. In contrast, Illinois Republicans just want to be left alone by the government so they can raise their families, do their jobs, build their businesses, and so they are pretty much on the sidelines.
Which is not a bad thing if you want that.
If you can, that's what you want.
Right.
But the problem is, if you have one side, the Chicago Democrats that are all in and playing and engaged in politics full time, and you have the other side, the Illinois Republicans, that are only engaged every now and then, part time. In the long run, who wins?
The Democrats.
Who wins the political power?
Right.
And that's what's been happening for a long time.
For
and
many
now
years.
they have political power, and Illinois Republicans do not.
So you do have your work cut up for you.
I am. I'm charging up a hill, but I'm trying to change that dynamic by
Yes.
encouraging more conservatives and Illinois Republicans to get, before it's too late, get off the sidelines, run for public office, or support people who do run for public office. And I'm preaching, I'm doing what I preach. I am running for office. I don't have to do this. At my age, I don't have to, certainly, and I have been blessed with the economic success. I don't have to do this, but I'm hoping that I win this race, and that will help make Illinois a two-party state again. There are 8 statewide public offices, all held by Democrats.
Wow.
If I can win this office, that means we'll have a Republican with a seat at the table, and that will help change some of the political power, move it back where it should be, and make this more of a two-party state. A two-party state is a healthier state than a one-party state.
For sure.
A one-party state is more corrupt than a two-party state.
Definitely, I agree with you 100%.
I feel that Illinois is not a Democratic state, but Chicago has kidnapped the political, because there's more people in Chicago and people are afraid, and they convince, especially the Latinos and the blacks, are convinced that the Republicans are evil and the Democrats are good because they, whatever lie they feed them, you know. But I don't believe Illinois is a, I'm friends with Rob Blagojevich, and when he ran for governor, Illinois was Republican all the way. The governors were all Republicans. And Rob Blagojevich was the first Democrat that came out in maybe, 40, 50 years.
26 years.
26
There were
years,
26 years of
Right.
Republican governors.
And so, and I sponsored him because he was my friend. We grew up together. But I didn't know, most people didn't know the difference. They knew the difference, but they didn't care about the difference between Republican and Democrat because everybody was together. Like until Bill Clinton, everything was like, okay, we're voting for the best men. And the Democrats were okay, and the Republicans were okay, but now we have something that is called a socialist and Democrat, which is, it cannot ever be because Democrats cannot ever be socialists. The Democratic...
That's why the party is so divided. The Democratic Party is awful right now.
This Bernie Sanders come up with this garbage about socialist Democrat or democratic socialism. Democrat and socialists are like two magnets facing the opposite way. They can never mix. Socialism is so much different than democracy that how can anybody even mention those two names together, socialist, Democrat? How? I mean, it doesn't make sense. And people are brainwashed into this, especially Latinos and blacks are getting watched. I've always said that there is a war in this world, not only in America, in the whole world. There's a war against. Okay, and I'll say this because I'm very convinced about this. The blacks are easy to be convinced. They are easily convinced to believe in something like Muslims or whatever. The Latinos are very weak-minded and they are controlled easily also. But the white man is not. You tell them, hey, turn in your guns and says, come and get them. You know, the black says, yeah, we don't want no more murder. The Latinos, here, it's the guns. The white man says, come and get my guns because you're not taking my guns. So there is a war against the white race. And I'm sorry I don't want to sound like a thing because I'm a Latino, I'm white, and I am not a racist person, okay, in any way or form. But I can see what's going on.
well,
Most people are afraid
I think a lot
to
of
speak about
I
it.
think a lot of that has been influenced by the media. They want to make the Republican Party look so bad, and President Trump, and they want to they want to
The
make everything
hate for
so bad.
Trump
They hate.
is being inflicted in people's brains. So they hate Trump so much that they'll sell out America. Okay? They'll sell out the country just because they hate Trump. And that don't make sense. How can you vote for socialism that is evil? How can you vote for these Muslims that are evil? I'm sorry. I mean, I don't care what anybody criticizes me or hates me for saying this, but Muslim is not a religion. It's evil. I'm sorry. They hate me and kill me.
I can't agree with everything you're saying, of course.
You
I will agree on the difference between the Democrat Party and the Democrat Socialists. I think the name Democrat Socialists is just a cover-up for socialists. They're really
communism.
They're really socialists. With the goal of converting this country to communism.
Exactly.
Yes.
But they can't just start. They can't admit they're socialist
because
until they have the power.
You know how many people fight?
But they're
every
really
day?
think of their positions. Like Mondami says, he wants to seize the means of production, and many of the other Democrat socialists say that. My opponent has not said that she is a Democrat socialist, but if you look at her positions on health care, she wants to throw out. Apparently, she wants to throw out a pretty good system of health care in the United States. It's not perfect. It's too expensive. There are things we need to do to make health care more affordable, certainly. But it's one of the best in the world. She wants to throw that out and replace it with government health care, which I don't think has worked really well anywhere. She wants a $25 per hour national minimum wage, which will really hurt a lot of small business.
Small business will go out of business, for sure. Yeah.
If we don't have any rich people, doesn't make sense. They are so retarded.
Right. And rich people in this country, for the most part, they become rich by producing a better mousetrap, by making a better electric car, a better rocket company, that sort of thing. So I like to say we believe in rewarding success. The socialists, also known as the Democrat socialists, they want to redistribute success. We believe in equal opportunity.
But that's a lie.
We believe in equal opportunity. They believe in equal outcomes.
No, that's a lie. That's a total
It's not a lie what they believe in.
No. They believe in a lie.
Yeah.
I mean, we were born into
I would say
socialism.
they're trying to sell a lie is what I would say.
No. They're brainwashing to a lie because socialism does not distribute anything equal except for hunger and slavery.
And poverty.
Okay,
that reminds me, Churchill said something very similar. Maybe you're quoting Churchill. And Churchill said, capitalism is the unequal sharing of blessings. Socialism is the equal sharing of misery.
But it is.
And it is.
I mean,
You're 100% correct. Because we have lived, all three of us, under communism.
We're living witnesses that socialism, number one, is identical, equal to communism. Right. There's no difference. The only difference between socialism and communism is that socialism gets lied to the people and they get voted by the people into power. And then you can't get rid of them. It's like cockroaches. You can't get rid of them.
And once they're in there, they show their true color.
And communism comes in by force, by power, like Castro did. Okay, so...
Or they vote, they get like, you can vote your way into socialism. But then they by force, they keep it that way.
Exactly. Well, that's when they turn into communism because socialism and communism is the same concept.
We have a guy that's been waiting forever. You know who it is.
Can I say one more thing on that issue? And that is that there is inequality in socialism and communism. People don't realize it because socialism and communism is really good for the people at the top, the people in power.
Absolutely, yes.
Like in Russia under Stalin.
Yeah.
How many dakas, which are, mansions, did he have?
Right.
The Tsar, but they revolted against the Tsar, who had palaces. Well, I think Stalin had the same places. They just call them dakas. But he had, 10 or so. So that's the leaders. Just look at them, even in Cuba.
Oh, yeah.
Castro wasn't.
Oh, he's got the whole.
Didn't he have whatever he wanted? Private jets,
And his kids.
His kids,
mansions,
yeah.
unlimited budget, unlimited amount of monies.
And no food, no light, no gas, no nothing.
Yes, that's how it usually works.
Even if you have money in Cuba, you can't buy food. So that's and I argue with people that says, "Oh, it's Trump's fault, the embargo." What embargo?
No, they want to oppress the people, and that's one way of doing it.
Cuban government has nothing because they don't pay for their bills, and everybody turned their backs on them. Okay, we have someone on the line.
Yeah, we have
Can
Mr.
we put him through?
We have Mr. Roosevelt that he wants to do a question.
Oh,
We are laughing because we know the guy.
Mr. Who?
Senor
What's his name?
Roosevelt.
he's
Guzman?
Roosevelt.
Roosevelt.
Mr. Roosevelt.
Mr.
His name is
Roosevelt.
Just like President Roosevelt?
Yeah.
Yes,
Roosevelt? Okay.
that's his name, but he is also Roosevelt, right? You're a communist, right?
No, don't be calling Roosevelt a communist now.
So,
Mr. Roosevelt, I have
Democrat.
Mr. Tracy is listening to you. Your question. Go ahead.
Yes, Mr. Tracy, I have to ask you a couple of questions in regards to what you were talking about. But first, I want to start with something that you haven't brought up, or none of you have brought up, and that's ICE. Now, we live in the state of Illinois. I'm sure you're familiar with the killing of Silverio Villegas Gonzalez up in Franklin Park. ICE was responsible for his murder. Are you in favor of continuing ICE? Because your opponent, Julie Ellen Stratton, this is one of the reasons why she won the primary, because she is in favor of abolishing ICE. These people that are running the streets of Chicago, LA, New York, etc., are running amok. We've never had, in the history of these United States, 250 years, with covered faces, and there's no procedure as far as arresting a person, detaining the person, and taking them to court. There's been 17 murders in the hands of ICE, in ICE custody in this country. Are you in favor of continuing ICE or abolishing ICE? That's my first question.
Okay, well, let's
second
go with the
question
first question. Can we go with that? First of all, what you have just said is pretty much the very sort of the left-wing view of what is been going on. We have immigration laws, and the agency that enforces those is called the Immigration and Custom Enforcement Agency, which you call ICE and others call ICE, because the left is trying to demonize ICE and the federal law enforcement officers who work there, who are just enforcing immigration law. And in every situation, what you call murders, I don't think there's been a single adjudication or conviction of anyone for murder. I don't think anybody's even been charged with murder. There was some element of an individual that was either obstructing federal law enforcement, or they were threatening federal law enforcement, or they were otherwise or they were resisting arrest. Now, in any law enforcement activity, whether it involves immigration or other laws, if you resist arrest, if you threaten a law enforcement officer, or you obstruct and interfere with a law enforcement operation, you could get hurt. And then the question becomes, did the law enforcement officer use reasonable force? And that is the question in all the cases that you have brought up. Now, federal immigration law enforcement has worked very well. In my kind of second, I grew up in Illinois, and I've spent almost all my time in Illinois except for when I spent about 8 years in Memphis, first as a traveling salesman for our family business, then as a law student, and then as a lawyer working down there. And in Memphis, unlike Chicago, Memphis is not a sanctuary city. So when the federal law enforcement officers came in to help Memphis make its streets safer, the governor called out the National Guard to assist that, and Memphis basically welcomed the federal surge in law enforcement. And as a result, they found thousands of missing children. They confiscated hundreds, if not thousands, of illegal firearms and contraband. They arrested they executed thousands of outstanding arrest warrants, and they put career criminals back in jail. And Memphis is a safer place because of that. The same thing happened in New Orleans and in Washington, D.C., because the local authorities cooperated with federal law enforcement. Now, there was no such cooperation in Chicago or Minnesota, and as a result, and that's why there was a different result. So what I conclude from that is that federal law enforcement, immigration does have to be different in Chicago and Minneapolis, and any place where you have the local public officials not only just resisting federal help, but actively opposing it. So I will agree with you on that point, that federal law enforcement of immigration in Chicago needs to be different than it was in Memphis, just as a matter of fact. But it's going on, and they're doing it differently. It's hard to do. I also think, as Tom Homan says, the focus for immigration law enforcement interior-wise should be on the worst of the worst, the people that are a danger to our country, that are national security threats, who are obstructing law enforcement or resisting arrest, that sort of thing, because there are a lot of long-term law-abiding non-citizens that paid their taxes, and they actually have contributed to our country. So there needs to be a focus on the worst of the worst.
I agree with you 100% there. What was your other question, Roosevelt?
Well, my other question is, you mentioned that Juliana Stratton wants to raise it to $25 an hour, the medium wage. But you know for a fact that this governor raised it this year in January, doubled it to $15 an hour. I disagree with you, sir, as far as it affects it in a negative way. On the contrary, it makes the people that need to buy their necessities, their food, their sustenance, to afford it, because this president has made slash cuts back to Elon Musk. He was in charge of Doge, and you know what programs he cut. And you talked about special interests. The president that we have right now has a special interest.
You mean Trump?
To give more tax breaks to the rich and to hurt the poor.
Nobody can prove that.
Of Medicare, Medicaid. And now they're talking about getting into Social Security.
Okay. Well, one question at a time, please.
2027.
Let me answer.
With our speaker.
Let me answer your question about. So why 25? Why not 50? Why not 100? Why not 1,000 an hour? Make it 1,000 an hour. I mean, what do you think inflation is too high, Mr. Roosevelt?
Oh, absolutely.
Well, what would increasing the minimum wage, the national minimum wage, from like $7 an hour, which is too low for most localities? What would that what is that? That would be 350%, I think. What's that going to do to inflation? I mean, it would double the price of cheeseburgers, wouldn't it, for everybody?
It hasn't done that.
And how many jobs? How many jobs would it cause? Would it cost small businesses? Small businesses are the biggest job creators. You go from $20 to $25 an hour. that's gonna you're gonna be laying off
that's
thousands,
suicide
probably millions of people, people starting out on the rung of the ladder of success. Well, and maybe some businesses will go out of business. Do you want that to happen? I believe, I support a minimum wage because the concept of a minimum wage, because there are some people that take advantage of young and uninformed workers, but I don't. That shouldn't be national because every state is different. Right. I don't even think it should be statewide because, I don't think the $15 an hour. Maybe that's okay for Chicago. I don't know. I mean, but is it okay for Metropolis down on the Ohio River? My hometown of Mount Sterling, a town of 2,000. I mean, I think it ought to really. Even the prevailing wage here in Illinois is regional. So I think there should be no national. Every state has its own minimum wage, except for I think 2. And for those 2, I don't know why they don't have it, but I don't think Washington D.C. should be setting the minimum wage for those 2, or even for Illinois. Illinois says 15 is the right thing. I guess I don't agree, but I don't think Washington should be even telling Illinois what to do. But I think in Illinois it should be regional, like the prevailing wage. It should be different in the small rural areas where you have fewer jobs anyway, and you have a much lower cost of living than in Chicago. The Chicago cost of living is way higher than it is in Metropolis or my hometown of Mount Sterling.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I agree with you. If the minimum wage goes up to $25, what's going to happen is a lot of small business will definitely close. Not only that, but the price of everything. The price of everything. Can you just like you mentioned? Can you imagine a small restaurant that has a couple of employees? How much a cheeseburger is going to cost you? Because they have to pay the employees now $25 an hour.
They got to raise the prices.
They got to raise the price. Yeah, it's just common sense.
And then they can't sell enough with the raised prices, and they go out of business.
Exactly.
It's a vicious cycle.
Right. And then whoever's going to benefit from that idea, Roosevelt, let me tell you, is going to be the big companies, because the small companies are going to go out of business, and then big companies will keep on making money.
No, they're not. They're going to go out of business too. Because they got to pay their employees more money, and they're going to have to lay them off.
No, because they're just going to raise the price, but they're not going to be able to.
They'll find a way, and if they can, to the extent they can, they'll transfer those jobs out of the country.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, which is what they've done in the past.
That's why they're scaring people out of California and New York and to Florida and Texas.
Or they'll automate. They'll do more automation. I mean, robots are coming.
AI, yeah.
And if you want to advance, you want to have more robots replace more workers. Up that minimum wage to $25 an hour.
And you'll see it happen. I agree with you 100%. Thank you, Roosevelt. Gracias. Thank you for calling.
Gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you for calling.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. I agree with you. If that happens, I mean, it's happening as it is with AI right now. A lot of people are afraid they're going to lose their job. If you raise the minimum wage, that's definitely going to happen. I see a lot of people losing their jobs and being replaced.
There's 2 ways to look at it. The minimum wage, people not understanding the outcome part of it. But everybody wants to get paid more. I don't want to get paid $15 an hour. I want to get paid $25. Okay.
I want to get paid $100.
But you go buy a bottle of water, instead of paying $1, you're going to pay $2 because the person who's making this is getting more money.
Of course.
And minimum wage, we got to remember this too. Minimum wage it was done for the students, for the underage people. Minimum wage is not for, like if you say, okay, minimum wage is $15 an hour. The hell are you going to work minimum wage? That's for students. That was how it all started.
High school, part-time students.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. If you want to raise your wages, you want to make more money, then you need to go full-time.
Yeah.
And you need to work, on a long-term basis. You can't just work for a few weeks or a few months a year in and out of the workforce like so many people do and be changing jobs all the time. You need to commit to a career on a full-time basis. I think everybody I know that has done that, by the time they get to be our ages, they're very well off.
Right. Or retire with a pension or
retired comfortably.
Yeah, something of that nature.
My dad used to work by himself and support 7 of us in my None of us. My dad, and we never were, we always had new shoes and clothing and books and whatever. Okay, now you have to have your wife and you working and the kids working to help you pay the rent. Rent was $95 a month when my father was taking care of us.
Well, you're talking about how long? I remember.
1970. Okay.
Yeah, 1970.
Yeah,
okay.
But
let me tell you about 1970. I remember because that's the year that I came to the United States. My dad bought a brand new car, a Ford Maverick, for $1,995. 1995. Brand new car.
70 or 1995?
No. He paid $1,995 for the car, brand new. 1970. 1970, yeah. It was brand new out of the right out of the dealer. You know, I mean, you're talking about everything going up.
I was in college then without a car, but then I bought a car my junior year. But it was used. It must have been only $500 then.
Right.
It was
my first car, but back in the day, it was like early '70s. I paid $500 for it, a used car too.
Well, I bought me my $100 car, my first car, and I was paying $11 a month for the car on credit.
Wow. $11 a month.
I thought it was too much money. I said, "Oh my God!"
No, I paid $500 cash for mine, but it was.
Well, you had that cash.
But it was 1970. It was a this was like maybe 75, 76, or maybe 74, and it was a 1970 Toyota car.
I'm
so
surprised with the cheap you are. You pay.
I paid cash $500.
I'm just kidding.
But you're right. But that's a cost of living issue.
Sure.
The cost of living is too high. You know, under President Biden. And his $1 trillion spending spree, we had 20% inflation in just a couple years. That's the highest inflation we've had in over 47 years, and now so everything is like 20% higher, and wages have not risen anywhere near that fast.
Right.
And then now in the inflation we have regular inflation on top of the 20%, and that's a real problem. And so that's one of the things I'm going to focus on if I'm elected is doing whatever we can to reduce the cost of living. But government spending is a big part of it, a very big part of it. Closing down power plants is another prematurely in this overnight rush to green energy. We all want green energy, but we've been doing well. When I was in high school, the Earth Day was started in 1968 or 69, I forget which, on my birthday. I remember that. At that time, Lake Erie was on fire from the Cuyahoga River that was pouring pollutants into the lake and catching on fire several times. And because industries were just putting raw pollutants into our rivers and streams, and cities were pouring raw sewage into the rivers. I learned to ski on the Illinois River at age 14, which was then just an extension of the Chicago sewer. I think it stunted my growth. That's why anyway, rivers or streams were dirty then. There were smog alerts, like every day in Los Angeles. And, I think also New York, certainly in Phoenix. I was out in Phoenix for a couple years going to school. But the air and the water is so much cleaner today. We've made lots of progress. We've been going green a long time without bankrupting the country.
But it's a long process.
But these
slow process.
These crazy the extreme environmentalists.
Right.
I consider myself an environmentalist, but a rational environmentalist.
Yeah, you have to do it.
The extreme environmentalists want to go green overnight, and that will bankrupt us. And that's and part of that process here in Illinois has been closing down some of the cleanest fossil fuel plants in the world prematurely without replacing them with baseload. And so that messes up the law of supply and demand, and you have more demand for energy than supply, and that raises utility prices. So that's the problem there.
For the socialists, the green, like AOC, is so wrong about it.
She's ready to run for president. We're in trouble.
She's not going to run for president.
She is ready to run for president.
A lot of people think she might be there.
She's She's the number one candidate. I just heard it today
Yeah, but
on the
who
news.
said that? You know, how
By
can
the
you have
Democrats.
She's young and she's pretty and she's articulate
not pretty
and she's a
she's-
socialist. And unfortunately, a lot of young people have not yet learned the evils of socialism.
Correct.
Well, she's really
Because
not
that's
pretty,
the
and
way.
she's-
That's the way.
she was
they've been taught
bartender
in
and-
college.
I'm sorry
I mean,
to
you got a
say
lot of
that.
college
Socialist
professors.
teachers.
Yes, a lot of
I'm
them.
sorry to say that because I'm sorry, women that poor, just and
Boy, that's neither here or
no,
there.
no,
but,
yeah, she was. I mean,
That's not true, Robert.
you know how many
She was a
people
bar.
said that-
She was a bartender.
and a loose one. Okay, whatever.
Well,
All
a couple
right.
of my daughters were bartenders, so I'm not.
No,
You can't
I was
say.
a bartender.
Okay, all right.
That doesn't make you what I just
Yeah,
said.
yeah,
but
that's
she
right.
was. I mean, a lot of people talked a lot about her.
I don't believe
Puerto
it.
Ricans, her own people talk bad about her in that way. And
there's a porno movie out on
There is
social
a-
media.
I'm no fan of AOC, but there's no evidence that she was anything
I seen a porno movie.
worse than a bartender. And bartender, I like bartenders.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean they have
Especially
to
when they give you the
free drinks, right?
hey, that's
No.
a socialist thing. All right?
Yeah, we don't want nothing free. We got to pay for it.
The thing is,
Nothing free is
I want to
but
enhance
it'll
it.
cost you more in the long run.
Yeah.
Socialism doesn't give you anything.
Especially too many free drinks.
Right.
That is really not can really not be free.
Socialism promises everything free busing, free
Anti-promises,
school, free
that's all it
medicine.
is.
What medicine? Like in Cuba, they offer everything. There's no medicine in Cuba. Free doctors. There's no good doctors in Cuba.
That's why it's free.
Free busing. You better go.
That's why it's free, because they don't have none.
The truth is, socialism is equality, equal poor
Equal,
for
yeah.
everybody.
That's right.
Okay, so what are we going to do to change things when you win? Because you're going to win.
Well, it will be more fiscal. I'm going to fight for fiscal responsibility. In other words, reduce excess government spending. Fight for energy dominance that will increase the supply of energy. While going green, but at a sustainable pace.
Reality.
I'm going to try to make healthcare affordable again.
Good.
The Affordable Care Act, which many of us call the Unaffordable Care Act, did not make healthcare affordable. In fact, it's gone the other way.
Right.
And now that's why. And what's the Democrat response? More subsidies, more government spending. But we need to bring more marketplace, particularly for small businesses. Healthcare is a big issue for small businesses. And a lot of them, particularly in landscaping, they have a very young, healthy labor force, and they don't need gold-plated healthcare. They just need basic healthcare plan for in case of an accident or a catastrophic illness or something like that. So we need affordable health care plans that small business can buy into and give to their employees and make it easier to hire employees. Crime, because of the Democrat, the Democrats who have taken over a lot of the prosecution offices, like Kim Foxx, they stopped prosecuting shoplifting unless it was at very high levels. And as a result, shoplifting has become a national epidemic, and some people think it's not even a crime. And it's not just Chicago or the big cities. Even in Springfield, shoplifting is an epidemic, and that increases the cost of everything that you can carry out of a store.
Yep.
So we've got to enforce our shoplifting laws.
Mr. Tracy,
housing.
I am sorry to interrupt you, boy. We're running out of time. The show is only an hour long. Believe it or not, we extended our hour. I mean, we've been talking.
One more thing: taxes. Taxes are part of the cost of living.
Right.
We Republicans lowered taxes last summer. Pritzker Stratton increased taxes over 65 times. So that's a cost of living issue. Property taxes here are the highest in the country, and that's driving people out of their houses.
Exactly.
So I
Okay.
will work to reduce taxes.
Thank you so much, guys. We'll see you next week. I want to invite you again, Mr. Mr. Tracy, whenever you have time.
I got a bunch
You're
of
welcome
questions.
to come to our show
Can
again.
we do this again
Okay.
next
I would
week?
love to.
I mean,
I'd be honored to. Thank you, Frank.
Thank
Can
you.
we do this next
Meeting
week
you,
again?
Robert.
Because I got a lot of questions.
You got a
for
lot of questions, but we ran out of time. I'm sorry. That's all we have.
WCGO 1590 AM, W240EH 95.9 FM.